tell you the truth, I think we're living in the most dangerous times since we got attacked. And
the United States has faced numerous political challenges throughout its history, but the presidency of Donald Trump stood out as particularly turbulent. It wasn't just the usual political debates or policy disagreements. It was a period of deep division, emotional intensity, and a country that often felt at war with itself. His tenure in the White House brought about drastic policy changes, fierce confrontations, and a political climate that was more combative than ever. To his supporters, Trump was a bold, unapologetic leader who spoke his mind and challenged the status quo. To his critics, he was a destabilizing force who undermined democratic norms and widened the nation's fractures. As tensions grew, public figures from various industries began to speak out, including Hollywood legends like Morgan Freeman and Robert De Niro. These two iconic actors, known for their powerful performances in films that have explored America's triumphs and struggles, stepped out of their usual roles to voice real-life concerns. Morgan Freeman expressed his belief that the country was heading toward a dangerous precipice, warning that the stakes had never been higher. Robert De Niro, never one to mince words, compared Trump's leadership style to that of a mafia boss, suggesting that corruption and self-interest were at the heart of his presidency. These weren't just passing remarks or casual criticisms, they were urgent warnings from individuals who had witnessed decades of political history and were alarmed by the direction the country was taking. And they were far from alone. Many others across different sectors, politicians, activists, journalists, and everyday citizens echoed their concerns, fearing that America was at risk of losing its core values. The divide in the nation was undeniable, and the impact of Trump's presidency would be felt long after he left office. Whether viewed as a necessary disruptor or a destructive force, his time in power left an indelible mark on the United States, igniting conversations that would shape the nation's future for years to come.
A very bad situation. I remember you and I about 5-6 years ago talking. I'm down at the Spring Studios. Something about, I said, what just happened just happened. No, it didn't. It didn't happen. It's all about truth. And what we have here is a denial of truth all over the place. And even the speech that he made after is insane. It's just insane, and I'm very, very concerned about it. I think we all are. It's insane. So that's why I felt I had to do something, say something about it, to go on record.
Morgan Freeman is not the kind of person who seeks attention by jumping into political debates. He rarely makes bold political statements, but when he does, people listen. His words carry weight because he speaks with wisdom, experience, and a reputation for honesty. In recent years, Freeman has issued a stark warning about the state of America, voicing deep concerns about the country's future. He believes the nation is in a highly dangerous period, not just because of external threats or economic troubles, but due to internal issues such as political division, widespread misinformation, and what he sees as the failures of an unqualified leader. Freeman is not alone in his concerns. Many political experts and historians have echoed similar warnings, arguing that American democracy was under threat during Donald Trump's presidency. They point to his repeated attacks on the press, his disregard for facts, and his obsession with maintaining power as factors that weaken the nation's core principles. These actions, according to critics, made the country feel less stable, less free, and more divided than ever. Freeman has specifically called out the mishandling of racial tensions, the emboldening of extremist groups, and the growing chaos within key government institutions as signs of a deeper crisis. He has also questioned Trump's erratic leadership style, openly doubting his ability to navigate difficult or high-stakes situations with competence. Throughout Trump's time in office, Freeman has remained vocal about his concerns. He has repeatedly warned that history provides clear lessons about the dangers of leaders who prioritize their own pride and personal image over the well-being of the nation. To him, Trump's presidency was a troubling example of a leader who placed his ego above the responsibilities of governing, leading to instability and uncertainty. Freeman's words serve as a reminder that when leadership fails to uphold democratic values, the consequences can be far-reaching and potentially irreversible.
National convention.
Yes.
You really want a female president, don't you?
I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe to a point. But I think, it's time we moved on from old white men running the country.
Be a nice change.
Yeah.
Speaking of old white men, do you remember the first time you voted, and who was it for? Or is this in the CRS category? Yeah.
Yeah.
Freeman sees this as more than just political disagreements. He believes it's a matter of America's survival. His concern isn't about party lines or policies. It's about the fundamental well-being of the nation. And if someone as thoughtful and measured as Freeman is deeply worried, he believes the rest of the country should be as well. Meanwhile, Robert De Niro has been one of Trump's most outspoken critics, never holding back his disdain. He has publicly called Trump a fraud, a would-be dictator, and a power-hungry leader. Coming from an actor famous for portraying legendary gangsters, these comparisons carry significant weight. De Niro believes Trump operates through intimidation, deception, and manipulation, traits he recognizes from the ruthless criminals he has portrayed on screen. What alarms De Niro the most is how Trump demands loyalty, lashes out at anyone who opposes him, and attempts to control the flow of information. To him, these behaviors aren't just signs of an aggressive politician, they resemble the tactics of mob bosses and authoritarian figures. But this isn't a Hollywood script, it's reality. De Niro fears that under Trump's leadership, America is being misled and manipulated, moving in a dangerous direction that could have lasting consequences.
It really started with, I got interested with Bill Clinton.
With Bill Clinton, he's the person. And did he personally get you involved, or you just saw him and thought, oh, that's a guy that
That's a guy that I think is gonna ride with us a while. And he's the second president I got to meet up close and personal.
Who was the first?
George
Washington?
Bush. You're quick.
De Niro's anger isn't just directed at Trump himself, it's about what he believes Trump has done to the country. He has warned that Trump's influence has led to a dangerous shift in American society, normalizing hatred, deepening divisions, and encouraging people to abandon facts in favor of blind loyalty. De Niro sees a rise in racism, an erosion of truth, and a growing culture of misinformation, all of which he finds deeply disturbing. His frustration isn't just political, it's personal, and he has been one of the most vocal critics of Trump's leadership. Throughout the years, De Niro has seized every opportunity to voice his concerns, whether on stage, at award shows, in interviews, or during public speeches. He has consistently cautioned Americans about the dangers he sees in Trump's leadership, urging them to take action before it's too late. His criticism reached a peak in 2018 when he made headlines by delivering an explicit, unfiltered condemnation of Trump live on television at the Tony Awards. Beyond words, he has actively encouraged people to vote, repeatedly denounced Trump's attacks on the press, and even admitted at one point that he felt an overwhelming urge to physically confront him. To De Niro, Trump isn't just another divisive politician, he's a serious threat to the country's values, and he refuses to stay silent about it.
Should not be president, period. We are at a moment in our life, in this country, where this guy is like a gangster. He's come along and he's said things, done things we say over and over again. This is terrible. We're in a terrible situation. We're in a terrible situation, and this guy just keeps going on and on and on. The day after he was elected, I said, well, give him a chance. You never know, you'll see. But he's worse than I ever could have imagined.
A lot of criticism of you. Fuck him. Okay, well, you know, this is cable.
For De Niro, this isn't about partisan politics. It's about standing against what he sees as a dangerous shift in the country. He believes the stakes are too high to remain silent, and if being outspoken is what it takes to get people to pay attention, then he is more than willing to use his voice. Morgan Freeman and Robert De Niro are more than just Hollywood icons. They are globally recognized figures whose words carry significant influence beyond the entertainment industry. So when both of them took a firm stance against Donald Trump, the reactions were swift and intense. Their strong opposition resonated deeply with many Americans, striking a nerve in a country already grappling with deep political and social divisions. What made their criticism especially impactful was not just their fame, but their long-standing reputations as respected and thoughtful individuals. Freeman and De Niro weren't just actors, they were figures who had earned public trust over decades. Their concerns reflected the fears and frustrations that many Americans were already feeling, reinforcing the belief that the nation was heading down a troubling path. For their supporters, their willingness to speak out wasn't just commendable, it was inspiring. Many applauded them for using their platforms to challenge a powerful leader, seeing their boldness as a necessary act in a time of uncertainty.
He pretends to be dumber than he is to confuse people and make them think, no, you think he's...
No. I don't think so.
Why you would guess that there's a big group of people in this country who believe that he cares about them?
I am totally dumbfounded, baffled by that. I can't understand it. And it's a thing that we've seen over decades and decades. And he is a malignant narcissist. He's a sociopsychopath. He's created some new language as far as describing somebody in his mental condition. It's so frightening and scary, and he's dangerous. We got to get rid of him.
Do you ever?
However, not everyone shared their perspective. Many of Donald Trump's supporters viewed Freeman and De Niro as out-of-touch Hollywood elites who had no business lecturing everyday Americans about politics. To them, these actors were just wealthy celebrities trying to push their own agenda, disconnected from the real struggles of working-class citizens. De Niro, in particular, faced intense backlash for his blunt and often profane criticisms of Trump. His outspoken attacks on the former president angered conservatives, leading to widespread calls to boycott his movies and dismiss his opinions entirely. While Morgan Freeman was more measured in his approach, he too faced criticism for getting involved in politics. Some people argued that actors should stick to their craft and avoid diving into political matters. Others felt that celebrities like Freeman and De Niro had no greater insight into national issues than the average American and should not use their influence to sway public opinion. Despite the controversy, their decision to openly oppose Trump placed them among a growing number of public figures who felt compelled to speak out during what they saw as a critical time in American history. As expected, Trump did not let their criticisms go unanswered. Known for responding swiftly and aggressively to public attacks, especially from celebrities, he wasted no time in firing back. Trump frequently dismissed his Hollywood critics as radical liberals who were out of touch with reality. He singled out De Niro in particular, ridiculing him as unintelligent and mocking his acting career. At one point, Trump even suggested that De Niro had been hit in the head too many times in his movies, implying that his political opinions were not to be taken seriously. Trump's supporters rallied behind him, seeing his counterattacks as proof that he was willing to stand up to elitist figures who looked down on them. Many of his fans enjoyed his combative style, believing that he was pushing back against a culture where celebrities were trying to control the political narrative. Freeman, despite his global fame, did not receive as much direct criticism from Trump as some of his Hollywood peers. However, his remarks against the former president were often swept up in broader accusations of media bias and left-leaning propaganda. While he may not have been personally targeted to the same degree as De Niro, his opposition to Trump was still lumped in with other criticisms that the former president and his supporters dismissed as politically motivated attacks.
City, I don't want to destroy it. Donald Trump wants to destroy not only the city, but the country, and eventually he could destroy the world. When Trump ran in 2016, it was like a joke. This buffoon running for president. No, never could happen. We'd forgotten the lessons of history that showed us other clowns who weren't taken seriously until they became vicious dictators. With Trump, we have a second chance, and no one is laughing now. This is the time to stop him.
The strategy at play was clear. Trump thrived on conflict, and rather than ignoring the criticisms from high-profile figures, he turned them into a political weapon. He used their negative remarks to reinforce his narrative that Hollywood and the mainstream media were working against him, portraying himself as a victim of an elite conspiracy. This tactic resonated deeply with his supporters, strengthening their belief that he was the only one standing up against powerful institutions that wanted to see him fail. At the same time, it further deepened the divide between those who saw him as a truth teller and those who believed he posed a serious threat to American democracy. Despite Trump's attacks, neither Freeman nor De Niro backed down. De Niro remained one of Trump's most vocal and relentless critics, repeatedly calling him a danger to the country's democratic foundations. He took every opportunity, whether in interviews, public speeches, or award show appearances, to warn Americans about the potential consequences of allowing Trump to hold power again. His message was clear. Trump was not just another controversial controversial politician, he was a serious risk to the nation's stability. Freeman, while not as aggressive in his approach, also continued to speak out. He warned of the long-term dangers that he believed Trump posed to the future of the country, cautioning that the damage being done extended far beyond one presidency. Though his tone was more reserved compared to De Niro's, his concerns carried just as much weight. Despite facing backlash, both Freeman and De Niro remained influential voices in the debate over Trump's impact on the nation. Their words gained even more significance because, for them, this was never just about Trump as a person. It was about the future of America itself. They weren't just criticizing a leader, they were raising alarm about the kind of country that would be left behind once his time in power was over.
A government that, as President Lincoln said, of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Under Trump, this kind of government will perish from the earth. I don't mean to scare you. No, wait, maybe I do mean to scare you. If Trump returns to the White House, you can kiss these freedoms goodbye that we all take for granted. And elections, forget about it. That's over. That's done. If he gets in, I can tell you right now, he will never leave. He will never leave. You know that. He will never leave. What does that mean? Is that the country we want to live in? Do we want him running this country and saying, I'm not leaving, I'm dictator for life?
Morgan Freeman and Robert De Niro didn't speak out for attention or personal gain. They spoke because they genuinely believed the country was in danger. Whether it was due to Trump's leadership, the deep divisions he intensified, or the potential threats to democracy, they felt a responsibility to make their voices heard. For them, silence wasn't an option. Their words sparked mixed reactions. Some people applauded them for using their influence to address critical issues, while others dismissed them as just more Hollywood elites pushing their opinions. But regardless of where one stands, there's no denying that their perspectives carried weight. They weren't just actors, they were respected figures who had witnessed decades of political and social change, and they believed the nation was at a turning point. Now, the future of the country is in the hands of the American people. The debate continues, and the choices made in the coming years will shape what kind of nation the US becomes. If this discussion resonated with you, don't let it stop here. Share it, talk about it, and keep the conversation going, because history has shown that staying silent never solves anything. And if you found this valuable, be sure to like this video and check out these other discussions on similar topics.